Hey guys, what's up? It's been a while, shocker, I know. But I recently figured out how to screen record on my iPhone. Yeah, I'm kind of late to a lot of the technology game, but I learned another trick. So now with this newfound knowledge, I figured I would sit down, film a video, and show you guys exactly how I edit my photos that I post on Instagram using the FACETUNE app. Now, FACETUNE gets a bad rap, and I totally get it. When you think of FACETUNE, what do you think of? You think of really smooth skin with no lines, no pores, and then just smooth their skin out to the point where they just don't even look like people anymore. Also, another thing that I've noticed with really bad face tuning is that the whitening tool for like your eyes, the whites of your eyes and your teeth gets so overused that it literally looks like somebody took white out and just like painted the whites of their eyes and their teeth. So I wanted to show you how I use the app just to create subtle differences that really just enhance the photos that I post. I don't want to look like a completely different person. I just want to look like a better version of myself. Now, I use the FACETUNE app. I'm not sure what the differences are between the free and the paid version. I do know that the paid version is super fucking expensive. I think it's like $60 maybe for the app. I actually did not pay for the app. I actually won the paid version through an Instagram contest that was held by Stevie Cakes, who is one of my favorite Instagram makeup artists. If you guys aren't following her, definitely check out her account. She is beautiful and she posts the most awesome makeup looks. But as far as my equipment goes, everything that I do online, from filming these videos to editing to uploading, taking all of my pictures and my photo editing, everything is done on an iPhone 10. And I don't know which one is the rear facing versus the front facing camera. I always get those confused, kind of like which is the back of your hand. I'm not sure. But the camera that I use to take my photos is not the selfie cam. I use the other one to take all of my photos. Lighting is gonna help. Having one of these little handheld remotes here is gonna help too. That way you're not kind of like jiggling your camera around as you're taking pictures, and you're able to get as crisp and clear photos as possible. And that's the first thing that I recommend, as far as especially taking makeup photos. If you want to get really detailed pictures, you want to get them close up, you want to get them in HD, and then I feel like it's easier to edit those photos and make them look better. You can edit a selfie photo, which I'm going to show you guys in a little bit, but I think that you end up being a little bit more limited in what you can do. If you can get a really good HD photo of yourself, it just makes everything easier and it makes everything look better in the end. So let's get into screen record mode and I'll take you through this entire process.
All right, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is take about 1 million of the same picture so that you can get 1 or 2 decent ones that you really like. So I have already picked 2 that I like. I like this one and I liked this one. So I've got one where my eyes are open, I'm looking straight at the camera. I've got one where my eyes are closed so you can really see the color of the eyeshadow on the lid there. So once I've got that figured out, then I go into FACETUNE. And again, this is the paid version of FACETUNE. I don't really know how this differs from the free one because I haven't used the free one in so long. But basically down here along the very bottom, I have my tools in an order that I normally kind of use them. There's some down here at the end that I don't use at all. Now where I always start is right down here in this bottom left-hand corner, you've got retouch. And in the retouch, I kind of have these in order of how I use things for the most part. Sometimes I switch back and forth. Sometimes I'll start with conceal first or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, I go into heal. And with heal, you can go in and any weird little, like, I've got a pore there. I'm going to hit that guy. It erases that. This guy here, it erases that. Now I feel like the more detailed and the more HD your photos are, the better outcome you're gonna get with FACETUNE, because I'm able to go in so tight. In the selfie cam mode, you just can't quite get that tight because the closer you get in, the more pixelated it gets, where in an HD photo, you get really close like this and it is going to kind of pixelate itself a little bit, but you're still going to have more control over how much of these little fine details you can get, and still have it look realistic. So we're going to get kind of close in here. And now again, these two little boxes in the bottom right hand corner of this photo, when you touch it, you get the before. So that's what things look like before I started. This is after. This is before. This is after. And it's such a subtle change, but you know, it really does kind of get rid of those wrinkles that are right there in that inner corner, right next to my eyebrow. This, we've got some kind of deeper pores or a little bit of darkness there. And the less that I have to use the conceal tool, for me, the better. I feel like it looks more realistic. So I'm able to basically conceal that area without having to go in with the concealer tool and completely just blur and erase that whole area out, which is going to look more fake than what I'm doing now. I can go up in here, that little area of darkness that I have. Any of these little areas of like texture, lumpiness, bumpiness, just stuff that the makeup itself didn't quite cover. This is just going to kind of help to perfect, to smooth, to totally catfish every single person on Tinder. And we'll do some before and afters again. So here's before, after, before, after. And we could get this guy here. And I like to kind of go back and forth. I like to kind of zoom out so we can really see how things are looking. And see, as I hit the before and after button down here, it's not really making a huge difference yet. It's not something that you can really see that much. And which for me is great, because basically what I'm trying to do when I'm using FACETUNE is not to change how I look. I basically am fixing things so that they look the way that I see them in real life when I'm looking in the mirror. Because when I'm looking in the mirror, I don't see any of like that. You know what I mean? I really just, or that pore right there, he's so big. But I don't see any of this when I look in the mirror. I see it in a photo like this, and I'm really just trying to smooth things out, to clean things up. Again, just to make the photo look a little bit better and so that I can look my best. But again, you want to leave a little bit of imperfection on your skin because your skin has imperfections. Your skin does have pores. So again, when I go into this area here, I'm not going to get rid of all this texture. I'm not going to get rid of all these pores. But what I am going to go in and do is hit the darkest ones there. So that guy's gone now. That guy is gone. Whatever that is. Before, after, before, after. Again, you don't want it to look too much different. You just want it to look a little bit cleaned up. So I'm going to go in now with these really fine lines and some of this crepiness underneath my eyes here. And I'm going to go in really, really tight. I'm just going to kind of erase that guy. And if you look at the before and after, there's before, there's after. In the after, it's still there a little bit. You can still see some of it. It's just not as deep and it's not as noticeable as it was before. These lines right here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to soften those too. Now, with a lot of what I'm doing, you're going to be able to see what I'm doing as I'm doing it, because you can see these little pink lines that go across those areas. When I go in with the concealer tool, it kind of sucks because you're not really going to be able to see what's happening, because you don't get like this little pink mark that indicates that you are working on that area. You're just going to kind of rub over the area and you'll see the before and after, you know, the difference that it does make. But going in and just erasing some of those lines, we're going to pull away, zoom out. So that's what we look like after it's edited. Before, after, before, after. Now I do have a fair amount of crepiness that's starting to happen like right under my eyes. And I mean, you can take it or leave it. I think that once I pull out and you're looking at the photo just, you know, from a regular distance like this and you're not super close on it, I don't think that you really notice that much. But if you really wanted to get in there and kind of soften some of that up, you can do that too. And if I do get rid of a few little lines of this crepiness down here, I'm really subtle with it. I don't want to go too crazy. I don't want to do too much because I'm a 40-year-old man. I'm going to have a little bit of that, you know. This guy on the side of my nose here, I woke up with this zit 2 days in a row now. I popped it yesterday. I popped it this morning. I covered it up with a bunch of makeup, but you still have the texture. You still have the bump there. We'll kind of get rid of that a little bit. I will go in with some concealer on this area at some point. But again, before, after, before, after. I'm going to come in pretty close on my nose here. And for the most part, I think my nose is okay. When I go in really tight, I've got either a mascara flake or I'm not sure what that was. There's another one there. Just get rid of some of that. I have a feeling this is going to be the longest video that I've ever posted on my YouTube channel. But again, I really want to kind of do this in real time so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I mean, if you really go in HD and look at your skin super up close like this, I mean, doesn't it look kind of gross? But just hit the darkest areas is what I do. I go in there, get those largest and deepest pores, and I don't do all of them. You want to leave, I want to leave some of that texture there so that it looks real. It looks like real skin. I've got right here is a piercing scar from my Monroe that I had for about a year in my 20s. I got rid of the piercing and the scar is there forever. Got a few more little flakes of, again, this is probably mascara or a little bit of eyeshadow fallout that, you know, when you go in this close, when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you don't see any of this stuff. It's when you really go in and you really get close up and you examine with a fine-tooth comb. And that's, you know, that's what I do. That's what I do when I look at my pictures. And a lot of you are probably the same. Nobody else is probably going through and really picking things apart. But again, this is my face. I'm my own worst critic. I'm sure that everybody's the same. So you're always going to see those things about yourself. You're always going to pick yourself apart more than anybody else is going to. Just get that guy. Get that. Again, here we go. Before, after, before, after. You can still see skin texture. You can still see irregularities. You can still see, you know, some of these fine lines next to my eyes, and that's fine, you know, I don't mind that. Maybe we'll get rid of that guy right there. Let's get really up close on my nose. I guess I have tweezed out quite a bit of hair right here in this area, but we'll go ahead and just erase any of that other gross shit that we have going on right there. I never realized how much nose hair I actually have coming out until I put on makeup and go back in and edit my photos. And I'm like, holy fucking shit. But again, today we're doing okay. And I mean, you know, this close up, yeah, you're going to be able to see some stuff you don't want to see. But from a regular distance, nobody's going to see any of that. But, you know, I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I would rather it look like this than to look like that. If you want to get really anal, you could kind of go in here and hit that guy, hit that guy, where your makeup is going to kind of crease in the corner of your nose right there. So you can do that if you want. I've got this creasing right next to my mouth. Soften that up. And basically what that's done is it's gotten rid of the line right there next to my mouth, and it's pulled in a few hairs of like my beard stubble and kind of plopped it right there, which that's fine. Before, after, before, after. But I've got a little bit of creasing here, here, get rid of that stuff, before, after, before, after. But from this distance, if you look at before, after, before, after, I've really done a lot of work so far, but it's all so subtle and it's such minor, tiny little tweaks that from a distance, you don't notice it. It just looks a little bit better. So next we're gonna move over to the conceal tool here. And I go just as subtle, probably more subtle with the concealer tool than I do with anything else. So where I had that zit on the side of my nose here, I've got some darkness there. I also have just a little bit of darkness underneath my eye here. You know, maybe a little bit of spottiness or patchiness right here above my eyebrow on my forehead. I'm gonna go and get some of this darkness underneath my bottom lip here on either corner. Again, where that part of my face is just starting to get a little bit saggy and a little bit jowly. But going in with the conceal tool, I go in really subtle with this. Let's start underneath this eye. I'm going to tap the image, which again, you're not really going to be able to see what I'm doing here, but once I back it up and once I'm finished, I'll show you the before and after, and it really does make a big difference. So I'm going to take this all the way down to the number 20. You can go from like 1 all the way up to 100. 100 is just going to be too much. So I could go in there and I could really, really conceal, see how that all of that is disappearing, but it looks ridiculous. So let's go back to where we started. I'm going to take that all the way down to 20. I'm just going to, basically what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking the pad of my index finger and I'm just kind of rubbing along that area where that darkness is. And again, you can't really see what's happening right now, but once I show you before, after, probably if I back up, you'll be able to see a little bit better. Just kind of brings some brightness, gets rid of that shadow there. I do want to get right along the edge of where I was doing that before. But so we've got before, after, before, after. I'm going to go in and hit this dark area where I have that zit on the side of my nose. And I am just rubbing that out. I'm going to hit this area right here above this eyebrow where it just almost looked a little blotchy. So just kind of softly get that rubbed out. Before, after, before, after. Now on this part of my cheek where I have this pock mark right here, see, there's some darkness right there in the center of the screen. If I zoom out, you can see definitely a pock mark right there. I'm going to go in and just hit the darkest area of that shadow. And then when I zoom out, it's still going to be there a little bit, but not nearly as bad. It looks a little bit more even. Now the skin is starting to sag and get a little bit jowly on the outer corners underneath my bottom lip. So I'm going to go in there and I am going to conceal that area. And again, I'm not doing anything over the number 20. If I want to conceal that more, if I want to conceal these areas more, instead of cranking up the number and going higher, I will go in and do layers of concealing because it just looks a little bit more realistic. So here's before, after, before, after. Now I do have a few areas that I want to go in and just kind of like lightly hit again. I'm going to hit the check mark down in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Because if you want to go in and add layers of concealer, you have to say, okay, I'm happy with where that is right now, and then go back in and add another layer. Now again, this app does have a lag to it because they haven't updated it in a while, so it's taking its sweet time to be done here. There we go. So I'm going to go back into retouch, go back into conceal, and then for the second round of concealer, I'm not going to do 20. I'm actually going to take it down to 15. So before, and that's before with the first layer of concealer that I did. So that's before, this is after, before, after. Again, it's just really subtle tweaks, really subtle changes, and I would rather this take longer and go in and do more layers than to rush through it and have it just look really bad, you know what I mean? Before, after, before, after. I still have a little tiny bit of darkness right here in this area that I want to address. And again, there's a lag, so I can't zoom out yet because it's not, there we go. Right above my highlighter here, I want to go in and just kind of brighten that area up a little bit as well. Before, after, before, after. See, it's just such a subtle little change there. Before, after. I'm going to lighten up underneath this eye as well. There wasn't quite as much to do over here, so I didn't do layers of concealer. I'm just kind of doing this all at once. Before, after, before, after. Could maybe use another layer right in this area. Of course, we've got a lag right under here. Right in there a little bit. So before, after, before, after. I do want to hit the darkest area underneath my lip right here. Okay. And again, this before and after, the before is with my first layer of concealer. So there's before with concealer, after the second layer, before with concealer, after the second layer. And I think I might want to hit that area. Might want to hit that. And so I think I'm pretty happy with everything that needed to be concealed. I'm going to hit this check mark in the bottom right hand corner. It's going to take a minute. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and at this point with the heal tool and with the conceal tool done, I'm going to show you before, after, before, after. So, you know, it really has made a pretty big difference so far. Even though it wasn't bad to start with, it's definitely better now. And we can still see pores. We can still see texture. Everything is just tidied up a little bit more. So we've done heal, we've done conceal. You can also do cleanse, which is like a softer version of concealing, which I think at this point, I'm not going to use that because I'm happy with everything that's going on right there. You can use vibrant if you want to just kind of brighten up or enhance the color, which I will use if I'm doing like a neon look and it just looks a little bit dulled down in the photo. I will kind of like run over the area with vibrant, but I'm not doing that today. Whiten, this is what people use to make their eyes really bright and white, or their teeth, which I think that my eyes look white enough. And then I'll show you another trick for that as well in a little bit here, so I'm not going to use that. There is a matte tool, so if you look a little too shiny somewhere and you want to dull that down, you can do that as well. We're not looking shiny. There's a smooth tool, which I never use. There's the smoother tool, which I never, ever, ever use. There's tools for texture, for details, to sharpen, for structure, glow, black and white. All of these I just never, ever use. Pretty much everything that I use is right here at the very beginning. So we'll go ahead and give that a check mark. So the Reshape tool, let's go into that. So the only one of these that I ever use is the Refine tool. So with this, you can basically go in and you can make your, I'm going to do this in extreme. You can make your face smaller. You can give yourself some crazy cheekbones. You could give yourself some, like really bigger lips if you wanted to do that, you know. You could really get crazy with it. But that's not how I use it. Let's go all the way back to the beginning here. All right, we're at our starting point. Now what I do use this for is for fixing a little bit of the lumpiness and the unevenness of my lips. Now, anybody that has lip filler, they're never going to be perfect. They're never going to be completely smooth. And when I see pictures on Instagram of people and you can see like the really obvious lumps in their filler, I always want to go in and I want to reshape that for them. I want to fix that for them. Now mine are pretty good. They're pretty smooth. They're pretty even for the most part. But if you really want to get nitpicky with it, what I do is I go in here. And so see, there's just a little bit of lumpiness here. So you can drag this down a little bit, kind of smooth out that line. So there is before, after, a little bit right there. That guy there. So we've got before, after, before, after. And again, I've never seen like perfectly smooth lip filler. There's always some sort of, you know, it's somebody else working on your face, you know. They're not going to see those weird little inconsistencies that you see on your face when you're A, looking at it in the mirror, and then B, when you go back and you're looking at this shit in photos and you really see any kind of that lumpiness, bumpiness, inconsistencies. And again, go in with this little refine tool, pop out those areas where you need it. Feel like this could be brought out a little bit here. I feel like that could be pushed in a little bit there. So before, after, before, after. And from far away, before, after, before, after. Again, like from far away, from like a decent distance, you shouldn't look like a different person. I mean, you can if you want to, but that's not what I like to use this for. I like to use it just for tweaking and touch-ups. The patch tool, this is one that I get a lot of use out of. Now, the patch tool I use a lot of times just to fix the way that glitter looks. I should have used glitter today. I could have really showed you, but I didn't. So I'll show you with a different area of this makeup here. So basically makeup doesn't photograph for shit ever. So sometimes you'll need to go in and just kind of add a little bit of sparkle by what I do is I'll take a piece of glitter from one area and just kind of pop it in an area that you can't really see the glitter, if that makes sense. But what I'm going to do today is I have this blue shimmer on the inner corners of my eyes that in real life seamlessly blends right into the shimmery pink on the inner corners. But what's really reading through in these pictures is this dark purple eyeshadow that I have, and it just kind of makes a little dark area right there in between those two shades, which again, in real life, you don't see that, but in a photograph you do. So we're gonna fix that today. And so basically with the patch tool, you can kind of sketch over an area that you want to cover. So this whole area right here where it's dark, I'm going to take this little bit of eyeshadow, which is actually a glitter by MAC, but it kind of acts more like a pigment, so you don't really see like the glittery sparkle. You definitely see more of a shimmer. But I'm going to take that and just paste it right there. I'm going to hit the check mark. And when I back up, that's how things look in real life. So this is before, after, before, after. Now I still have a little dark spot in here that I'm going to go ahead and take the patch tool. I'm going to hit this guy right here. And then let's go ahead and just take from, let's take from right there, looks about right. And then when we back away, before, after, before, after. And again, you could call that cheating your makeup, and that's fine if that's how you feel about it. But again, realistically, in real life, this is what this looks like. In a photograph, it's just kind of showing off things that, you know, you've got weird shadows or just different things are showing through that don't show through in real life. But that's what I want that to look like. I'm going to go ahead into this eye, and we are going to do the same thing. So I'm going to hit patch. I'm going to sketch over that darker area right there. I'm going to take from right about there, looks right. Hit the check mark in the bottom right hand corner to say, okay, we like that. Before, after. Okay, so I don't really use the eyes tool a lot, but you can if you want to brighten up the eyes. Again, this is how I'll whiten my eyes if I feel like it needs it. In this very first tool here called Details, I find for me the sweet spot is going to 13. And again, before, after, before, after. It just kind of brightens up my lens, and it also kind of brightens up the whiteness of my eyes without looking overly done or too fake, you know what I mean? If you wanted to go crazy with it, you can go all the way to 100, and I feel like I see a lot of this. I feel like maybe I see more of something like this on Instagram, but again, I want it to look as real and as untouched as possible, so I go down to 13. I think that is, for me, the perfect little spot where I can kind of brighten it and it doesn't look fake. Now, the last thing that I do is I'll go in with this tool here called Edit, And this is where you can kind of fix the brightness, the contrast, color. You can sharpen things up more, add grain, highlights and shadows. You can adjust the temperature and stuff like that. But for me, I really just use two of these. I use brightness and I use color. And I will take the brightness and I will drop that down to -5 because I feel like it's perfect for adding a little bit of depth to like the makeup and stuff, but it's not dropping it down so dim that you start to look old, which can happen if you drop this down too far. And then as far as color goes, it really just kind of depends. Because with the iPhone camera, I find that the white balance is so off and it can change so much from picture to picture that sometimes your pictures will look really, really cool toned. Sometimes they'll look really warm toned. And sometimes that changes from picture to picture. So I'll go anywhere from say 25 to 50. It really just kind of depends on where the photo started with its white balance. I feel like 50 might look a little bit too much for right now, for how things are looking in real life today. Probably 40 is about right. This is about how things are looking in real life right now. So if you look at before and after, so here's before, and it really looks dulled out. See what I mean? And then this is after, and it really is a big difference, but in real life, this is pretty much closer to the way things look as compared to here we've got a really dull color. So before and after, before, after. And that's pretty much it, but I do want to show you what things look like from where this photo very first started with no edits at all compared to the way that things look when I'm finished with the edits. So here's before, after, before, after. The colors are more saturated. All of the weird little inconsistencies in my skin, any of that stuff that I really wanted to get rid of or soften up or smooth out is softened. It's smooth, but at the same time, it looks like there's an actual human being in the photo. It doesn't look like an airbrushed, a completely airbrushed photo. You know what I mean? So here's before, here's after. Before, after. So again, it still looks like me. It just looks like a better version of me. You know what I mean? Oh, you know what? Something that I did kind of miss here. My eyelashes are kind of all crazy because they are in the middle of growing out from my lash perm. So yeah, let's do that. Let's show you one more trick that I've got here. So underneath the patch tool, there also is a vanish tool, which is actually brand new. But you can go in and you can wipe on, I like to do this a little bit at a time. So on that eyelash there, and it didn't really get rid of it that well. So let's go ahead and hit over this whole area right there. And I can fix this up too. Yeah, no, that looks really bad. I can fix this up in a minute though. Can kind of get rid of this. See again, but only kind of, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna stay in that tool. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna do a combination of vanish and patch, and you'll be able to see that you can kind of fix this stuff up. From far away, it actually looks fine. So before, after, before, after. But if I really want to be super nitpicky about it, what I'll do is we'll go into patch, kind of go over that area, steal from there. steal from there. Right here, steal from there. So before, after. We're going to go over this area. I'm going to steal from this area. So before, after, before, after. I'm going to fix that area up in a minute here too. But before I do that, let's patch this up. This is just to show you how close in and how detailed you can get with some of this stuff. So that's before, after, before, after. So I want to go in and just kind of thicken up the lash line right here. I'm going to go into paint. I'm going to go all the way down to black. Hit paint. I'm going to take that down to 55, I think is usually enough. And I'm just going to kind of, again, thicken up the lash line just right in this area. So then when you back up, there's before and there's after. Just a scotch, just a little bit. I think we're okay here, but I could always right there. And then now, so there's the eyes. Before, after, before, after. And that helps to really kind of like open up the eyes a little bit too. You don't have any kind of like saggy, droopy, sad eyelashes hanging down and kind of covering the whites of your eyes. That really helps things out a little bit too. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how I edit one of my photos for Instagram, which when you are watching this video, this picture should be up on my Instagram account right now.
Okay, so now that we have my face edited, let's go ahead and edit another photo of somebody else. Now, one of my awesome clients, Kristen, submitted a couple of photos for me to edit. I'm gonna go through and pick which one we wanna do. Now, she knows I'm gonna go in hard, and she knows that I'm gonna go ahead and tweak these photos in the same way I would tweak my own. Anything that I would think is like a flaw or anything that I would wanna get rid of before I posted a photo, I'm gonna go ahead and edit her photo in the exact same way I would do mine.
Okay, so then Kristen here has been kind enough to submit 3 photos for me. We've got this one, we have this one, and we have that one. I'm going to go ahead and do a straight on photo, so we'll go ahead and delete that guy. Do we want to do this guy or this one? This one. This one. Do I like that? Do I like that? Let's go ahead and do this one here. Let's open FACETUNE back up and we'll get that picture. Okay, so again, I usually will go into retouch first, and let's use the heal button. We'll go ahead and use this the same way that I would use on myself. We'll hit heal. And let's go in pretty close and start inspecting. So again, the first things that I would normally hit on myself are any of these kind of like fine lines. We've got that one. And see, the closer that you get in pictures and selfie mode, it's kind of harder to see what you're doing. You don't quite get the detail that you get in the, is it the rear facing? Is it the front facing? I don't know. The camera that's not the selfie camera. You definitely get more detail, so you can get in there a little bit tighter. So before, after, before, after. But again, the selfie cam definitely gives you an instant filter, so I've got a lot less to do here. So let's go into these little areas where we've got some blemishes. We'll just hit those with the heal button as well. And sometimes it doesn't really heal that well. So like here's before, after. It just kind of changed the position of where that spot was. But we can fix that with the patch tool in a little bit. So if we look at before, after, before, after, quick and easy. Get that guy. Just get, there we go. That's better. Little bit, little bit, little bit. Now I know I'm going to end up getting comments about me going in and, you know, picking somebody else's face apart or whatever, but that's not what we're doing here. I just want to show you guys, again, how I would use this on myself, how you can use this on yourself, just to have the best photos possible. And this is a complete, like, no makeup selfie. She's got no makeup on in this photo, so. With the quick little heal tool, before, after, before and after. She's looking good already. You're looking good, Kristen. Let's see if the heal tool will kind of help with the little under eye area here. Oh yeah. Big change, easy. This is way easier than my own face. Again, when you are doing your own and you are inspecting your own face, you're going to be more critical of your own face. Whereas when you're looking at somebody else's photo, it's like, well, she looked fine to begin with. I don't have a lot to do here, you know what I mean? Where I would go in way harder if it was my own photo. So then I'm going to go into the conceal tool, and again I'm going to take that pretty low. About 18 is probably fine for what's left down here, because I pretty much got rid of anything that I would want to get rid of with the heal tool, so we don't need to do that much concealing. So before, after, yeah, before, after. It's looking pretty good. Let's go into this other under eye, and we'll just kind of lightly conceal under here, not too much. Nothing that's going to be obvious or noticeable. And again, when you're so subtle about it this way, I feel like this is kind of like the ultimate form of catfishing, where when it's like super obvious and people really smooth everything out, it's like, oh, that's totally fake. She doesn't look like that. Where here, you would never be able to tell. I'm gonna hit, I've got this darker spot on her forehead. I'm gonna go ahead and lighten that up as well. And again, you can't really see what I'm doing here because it doesn't have that little purple spot that shows up. But when we come out and show you before, after, really does make a nice difference there. Before, after. Going to brighten up just down the center of the nose. Just because, again, she didn't have any makeup on, so the nose looks a little bit red. I want to brighten up just the center. before, after, before, after. A little bit of this splotchiness that we have here, which again, I'm sorry you can't really see what I'm doing. Before, after. And now I'm going to go in with the patch tool here, just for some of these little areas that didn't really quite take to the heal tool or to the conceal. Just kind of steal from there. Then when we back up, before, after, yeah, that helped a little bit. Let's go ahead and patch again right here. And sometimes it steals from like the right place. Sometimes you have to move it around to kind of, you know, figure it out yourself. But occasionally it will pick from the right area. Right there. Let's see, we'll patch that area. That looks good. I'm going to go into the cleanse tool right here and just very kind of softly brighten up some of this. Take it down to 65 is probably fine. I'm going to patch again, just this little bit of darkness right here. Steal from there. And then the same right there. I'm going to steal from right about there, I think is good. So again, she looks refreshed. She doesn't look fake. It doesn't look like we've done really anything in this after picture, but when you compare the before to the after, everything just looks a little refreshed. I'm going to use the Reshape tool here, and I'm going to use that just to give her hair a little bit more volume. So you can go in and kind of pull this out a little bit here. And Kristen, I know you're watching, so I'm gonna make your Karen hair just a little bit more Karen here. Before, after, before, after. Just enough of a subtle change there to give her hair a little bit more volume. We've got this little straggly hair right there that looks like he doesn't belong there. So let's go into our patch tool. We'll do the vanish tool, and we can get rid of, hopefully we can get rid of this. Again, this is a new tool. I don't think it's 100% perfect yet. Oh, it did pretty well there, didn't it? That guy right there. That shadow behind her still looks a little bit goofy, so let's see if we can go into the cleanse tool and just kind of hit that area. Yeah, that looks better. Now we can also play around with the lighting on her face. Let's see, this probably was like hallway or bathroom lighting. Let's hit the relight tool. And this will just kind of add a little bit of brightness to her face. Sometimes I like the way that this works, sometimes I don't, but I do like to play around with it a little bit just to see. I think it might be a little too bright and a little too fakey looking, so I'm going to take that brightness down. Yeah, 35 maybe looks about right. And we can look at before, after, before, after. Yeah, I feel like this is kind of perfect because it's like, it's not harsh bathroom lighting or hallway lighting or whatever it is you have at your house. It just kind of softens everything up, but it doesn't really look too different. So here's before, here's after. So again, it's just a subtle change in lighting. It kind of brings a little bit more of a spotlight to the center of her face and a little bit of shadow to the perimeter of her face where you would normally put like your contour makeup, you know what I mean? It's just a little bit more flattering of a light. So there's brightness. Let's go into vibrance and just see what we can do with that. You can slide that up and that just kind of adds a little bit more warmth to the face. But it's more subtle than going in with the color tool and adding like that brightness and that color that way. So here's before, here's after, before, after. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So we'll click the check mark. So again, let's look at before, after, before, after. Okay, let's see. We'll go into the eyes and see if we can add some detail and kind of whiten up her eyes a little bit. Slide that over. Da, 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 da. Keep going, keep going, keep going. See if you go all the way. Look how fake that looks. That looks crazy. Where if you slide it down to where it looks natural and part of the actual picture. Before, after, before, after. And so it just adds a little bit of something to the eyes there without looking like we did anything to them. So we can go ahead and click out of that. And again, before, after, before, after. Okay. Now, what else can we do here? We could go into some neons. There is that option. This is fun. Yeah, see, we've got some bright pink light on the one side. You can make that go even brighter, lower, brighter, lower. Nah, let's not do that today. There is also different backdrops that you can put on these photos. We can make her look like she's underneath a tree in the winter. That's kind of fun. We could give her some pineapples, some sparkly lights. That's like a Christmas tree. Where's that one? This one? Ah, that's fun. You can make it a bigger pattern or a smaller pattern. Completely ridiculous. Yeah, I don't like these fake weird backgrounds like this. I'm just not a fan. No, I don't really like any of this. The pink one, maybe. No, I don't like that. I think we'll go ahead and keep things like that. I'll probably crop her down so that we've got more of this and less of it's obvious that I was taking a selfie. It still does look like a driver's license photo. I'm not going to lie. We've got that plain background. But I think that we've created a cool little picture here for Kristen. So.
All right, guys, that is how I edit photos using FaceTune. I hope that this has been helpful. Again, don't think that you need to edit your photos at all. Is it necessary? No, not at all. For me, it's just more aesthetically pleasing that way. And since we do have the tools at our disposal to be able to go in and just like tweak a little here and tweak a little there, I don't see anything wrong with it. Now, again, when I see really badly done Photoshop, it really does annoy the shit out of me. Your skin has texture, your skin does have some pores. Let's try to make this look like it's based a little bit more in reality, which might be the ultimate form of catfishing, honestly. But again, I don't want to look any different. I just want to look like a better version of myself. I just hope that you can take away a few tips and tricks to use the app to your advantage so you can have better results and just more aesthetically pleasing photos. That's all I'm trying to do here today. But thank you so much for Kristen to submitting some photos for me. I hope you're happy with the outcome. And to everybody else, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you guys on the next one.